But that's not important right now. Episode 19, take one, and go. And go. Welcome to
another edition of.
But that's not important.
That's not important right now. The post Amber Heard edition.
Yeah. This is I mean, we don't really talk about current events like this, but I think it needs to be mentioned.
It needs to be mentioned, yeah.
I'm of two minds about that whole thing. I wasn't following the trial at all. I was getting updates from the memes and from friends. I have a friend in England. He and his friends, we have a little group chat. So they're all in England. I'm the only non-English guy, you know. And he is extremely anti-hood. Is that a word? Anti-hood.
Anti-Amber. He's anti-Amber.
And it all started with that Daily Mail piece. Mm-hmm. All that Daily Mail piece that Johnny ended up losing the case
in the UK.
Yeah, and it was plainly obvious that the Daily Mail had paid off the judge, because you can't tell me now that this court, with the same evidence, said that she was lying, because he presented relatively the same evidence they presented in the case in England, and the law lord was like, yeah, no, she's correct, tally ho and all that. Yeah. Fuck off, Johnny. You fucking wanker. Yeah, I think I sounded like a former managing director. Oh god damn it! Fuck off with this. This is not what we do here. You know, we create ads.
Now we create work that wins. Work that wins.
Work that wins and all that bollocks.
And all that tosh.
So I wasn't following the whole thing, but I mean, I have some experience in the department of going through a divorce. So I mean, I'm not saying Johnny Depp is this pure, you know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say white savior, but I mean the guy is white, so I don't want to say that. But he's not pure, you know.
He ain't all sweetness and light, but yeah, we get the idea.
I mean, he. Okay, so for our listeners who have just joined us or who are listening, I am Johnny Depp's double. Actually, no, I'm Tom Cruise's double.
Yes, you are.
and this is my sidekick. Who are you today?
Who am I today? I don't know. Maybe Hannibal Lecter. I have no idea.
You ate his liver with a side of Chianti.
No. I had some chicken liver with red kidney beans and a nice red Solo.
Blah.
Yeah.
All right, so people joining us, we those are not who we are. We are Ian Reid and Jared Betts. No. We used to work in advertising.
Yes. Thank God. And thank God we got out of it. Well.
Well, I'm not exactly out of it. But
well, neither me actually. I'm not completely and totally out of it either. So
the talk about Amber Heard and Johnny, congrats to Johnny versus Amber Heard, whatever you want to hashtag it. There was a time, I don't know if were you there when we launched Single Barrel for Angus Tour?
Right. Yes, of course.
You remember what we did, right? No, I didn't go to the launch. I wasn't invited. Right?
Well, neither me.
Right. So we were because by that time we did Black Sheep. But I shot the teaser for the launch. I took 3 interns with me, 3 wonderful people, one of which I'm still friends with. What's his name? I keep forgetting his name. And we went on the beach with 2 very sexy models dressed as pirates, right? One was a
Right.
male and one was a female. Actually, there were two females. Very nice girls. You know, it was a great time. We had an awesome time shooting this teaser where we showed a drunk pirate under a coconut tree. This was on Maracas, and
Yeah.
his two what do you call them? What do you call it? Crewmates, these girls,
Yeah.
right?
It's first
And,
mates, I guess.
and
Yeah.
and he wakes up from this. We storyboarded this in the morning, and we went down. We storyboarded it the day before, and we went down first thing in the morning to Maracas, ate some apple pie and stuff for breakfast, and we shot this thing around 10 in the morning, and it was extremely hot by 10. So everybody
It
was like,
was.
and
I can
we just
imagine.
shot it with the agency camera,
Yeah.
and essentially it was this guy wakes up and sees these two sexy pirates, you know, walking towards him. And then I think I remember he, you know, he says, "Where's the rum?" Or whatever Johnny Depp's character, Jack Sparrow, says, and she slaps him, and she says, "We need to get to Angostua's, you know, launch or whatever." It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot. I remember there was a lot of fun doing it, and then our friend Sean Jonashing edited it together. We produced this. Now I don't know if it's still on YouTube. It must be there still on YouTube somewhere.
Probably is somewhere. Yeah.
That's not the story I want to tell. I want to tell the story of that we brought down a Johnny Depp lookalike, a guy who is a professional Johnny Depp lookalike. He dresses in all his characters for events that Johnny can't make it. So like he does mostly paid events, but he says there are other people who do like the kid events, you know, like when you have to go to hospital. Because, you know, Johnny's thing was he had to go to these hospitals to visit these patients because his daughter died of a condition.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did was he kind of set up the system where he would portray Jack Sparrow, and he would go to these hospitals or these events or whatever. But he can't be everywhere at once. I mean, he has to shoot a movie or whatever. So this guy is like his professional double. And he was really cool. This guy was really cool. I forget his name now, but he looks just like Johnny Depp, exactly like him. You know, so I mean, we chatted and we talked, and he said, and what always struck me is that he said, Johnny Depp as a person is the nicest guy you will ever meet. He said, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not telling you this because it's a professional relationship or whatever. He said, I have spoken to the guy because I have to talk to him to he's like an interview. The guy, Johnny Depp, has to know that this is the right guy. You know, obviously the agents and stuff get him, you know? But he said, you know, Johnny, and it always struck me that he says that in person, Johnny Depp is not a saint, but he's a very, very, very pleasant guy, very nice guy. He's fair, you know, he's not the diva type. The reason I said Tom Cruise is I went to see Maverick.
You went to Top Gun Maverick,
Very good movie. And
it is.
And they were saying that Val Kilmer was in it, right? And Val Kilmer is this huge diva character. Johnny Depp is not like that at all. He's not like that at all. He's very cool. Anyway, when this guy came, was hired to portray Johnny Depp, to portray Jack Sparrow at the launch, and it was hugely successful. I mean, we blew it out of the water because Single Barrel is like we had this kind of pirates rum theme, high seas kind of thing, and it was awesome. It was well executed, well done. I always remember that the agency we did really well. Those are the days where you could spend that kind of money, you know, because I don't think this guy was cheap. To fly in from Las Vegas to Trinidad to do something like that, that's not cheap.
Yeah, that's not cheap at all. Yeah, he commanded a hell of a lot of dough there.
Yeah, but we did all this friggin' work and we didn't even get invited to the launch.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe I was invited and I can't remember if I couldn't go. I can't remember, but I don't remember being asked. If I usually go around and say, would you like to go? And then sometimes they'll tell you, well, you have to pay for half the ticket or whatever it is. And that didn't even happen. Anyway. So we don't want to get hooked up on the Hood Johnny Depp thing, but what's your thoughts on that?
Oh God. look, I really didn't pay much attention to it either. I mean, there were those on social media who were really into the trial and the minutiae surrounding what was going on there. So, but I always felt that, yeah, I mean, you could see that there was a great amount of insincerity in with this young lady. And as somebody once, as a wise person said, you got to be very careful in terms of establishing a relationship with people like that, because that person could be a potential nut job. And clearly, I mean, Amber Heard, and I don't know the woman. I don't know her. I've never interacted with her. I hope I never have to. I hope I never have to. But
Jared, don't lie. If she showed up in Trinidad, you treat her with the same respect as you treat anybody.
I would, but I would also be sure not to go
fall
that
head
far.
over heels.
Yeah,
you're not going to get starry-eyed.
I'm not going to get starry-eyed or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay as far away from her as possible, because that kind of mentality that she had, she exploited her gender. She exploited her quote unquote ordeal to such an extent. She milked it for what it was worth. And the vast majority, even if she had won the case, even if she had won it today, that wasn't going to happen. But even if she did, she would still be guilty in the court of public opinion. And that is something that, it doesn't matter if you are an actor. It does not matter if you are an influencer. No matter what you say or do, the public is fickle. They are going to notice what you've done, what you've said, how you interact, how you relate with other people, and they're not going to let you forget it. And that, to me, I mean, you talk about, we're so keen on talking about cancel culture, but the real cancel culture is when the public is just fed up of you and they don't want to have anything to do with you. And and your talent, whatever talent that you have, that's irrelevant. Because I'm of the firm belief that if you happen to have a particular talent, whatever that talent is, especially if it's a creative talent, and you get along fairly well with people, like Johnny Depp does, apparently. If you can do that, you've got it made. You've got it made. You have built up an incredible amount of goodwill. You can't pay for that. You can't just say, you can't. It's there. It's something that it takes time. But if people see that and they realize that, they're not just gonna walk away from you. They're gonna fight for you because they know the kind of individual you are. And I think it's something that most of us here in Trinidad and Tobago, we need to take a page out of Johnny Depp's book in terms of how we relate to people. Because I think the minute that you become, you not all of us are like that, granted, but there are some of us who, once they attain a certain level, a certain degree of fame, they get really, I mean, they have an ego the size of frickin' Texas, because they figure that, I can do whatever I want. I shit ice cream. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, that you thought that you reach a certain level in your brain and you think, well, I'm the shit now and I could say and do whatever I want, and some people could get it. I call it the Steve Jobs complex, because when Steve Jobs was young, he used to be able to get away with these kind of things. But as somebody said, you can never be Steve Jobs. So don't try. You can't have a managerial style, for example, like Steve Jobs. Somebody will murder you. Somebody will kill you. So welcome, Quincy.
Greetings. What's up?
Thanks for coming in. So we just kind of talking. We want to segue now. We were talking about obviously the elephant in the room, which is Amber Heard and Johnny Depp verdict.
Oh. Yeah, be careful with that elephant. That elephant leave us a third the size of an elephant.
Oh my gosh. She will go to her grave with that, That is sad. That is so sad. And her explanation defense for it was even worse. And I'm just like, anyway, we're not going to go into the details of that. But
that's not important right now.
That's not important
right now. What Jared had made a good comment there before was he said that when you reach a certain level, you start, believing that you are exempt. Is that the word I think that I could use?
Exempt from you're above reproach. That's what that means.
Right. So one of the things we want to talk about, well, this week, we tape this on a Wednesday, so you all will get this on a Monday. This week, we don't know what has happened between Thursday and Friday. We don't know the future. But we don't know what has happened this week. In the past, there are two things we want to talk about today, which is not the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, but it does lead into that, which is exactly that when you reach a certain level, you think you can go and say and do whatever you want. And that is not the case when you have a brand. So I think we want to segue straight into what do we call him? We call him Chef Jason Peru.
Yes,
that is what he's known as.
Oh,
that's how he's known. Yes.
Right. So I want to start with that because I want to segue from that into the other thing, because I think it leads into the other thing, which is along the same theme of we say things and we don't really mean them, or we're not really understanding what we're saying. And then somebody pulls us up and we double down or we triple down or whatever it is. But I'm not too clear personally on the Chef Jason Peru situation. What I do know is that it had something to do with the serving of Chinese-style pork in a restaurant, which is opposite to a mosque in Aranjuez. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
El Socorro.
El Socorro, sorry. El Socorro, right, yes. And what had happened was somebody had put a video saying that they loved this Chinese food restaurant because it didn't serve pork because it's opposite of a mosque. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
More or less, yeah.
And then Jason Peru went and commented on that video saying, I think which will probably be on his headstone now, pork is life.
Pork is life. Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't understand the uproar, but could somebody please explain to me why there's an uproar of saying pork is life as a comment? I mean, okay, so he commented on a TikTok video, right? Is that what he did? Yes. I'm not too sure. Right. Yes. So when he did that, people started berating him. And then he doubled down. I think he went and he did a video showing himself making pork and saying that he liked pork and to hell with everybody, eat the pork or whatever. And then Inshan Ishmael, who is a hardcore, I don't even want to call his name because I'm frightened he might sue me, but just call him his name. I'm sorry, Mr. Ishmael, I'm sorry. I don't want to get sued by you. I'm sorry. But he went on a rampage and he said, we are going as a Muslim community and boycott. Is it Chief Brand Products?
Chief Brand Products, because Chief Brand Products hired Chef Jason Peru as well, pretty much as a spokesperson, an influencer, because that's what he uses their products when it comes to his cooking.
But the video where he was making the pork, he didn't actually use Chief Brand Products, as far as I know.
No, I don't think he did.
That's kind of irrelevant. The point is the damage had already been done. Mm-hmm. And then Chief put out a statement saying that his views are not the views of them. And then Karen Rose got thrown into the mix by commenting on it and saying that Chief should have fired him like Optometrist Today. I think Optometrist Today is it Optometrist Today that has him as a spokesperson as well, where he wears his signature white glasses, like, you know. And I'm just saying, how much stuff is Chef Jason Peru into, and B, why would Optometrist Today fire him and Chief not? Which is the question a lot of the people on the forums and wherever say. You know, we had a great session last week with with Dwayne on forums in Trinity. I haven't even checked Trinity Old Talk Forum. I should have liked up like shit with Jason Peru. But the fact is that the people who run Chief are Muslim. Mm-hmm. And the call was, why not, so they have also doubled down. And they've said, well, no, we're not going to fire him just because he saved pork is life, which personally I think is not a hill that you die on. You don't die on this hill. But, this whole idea of canceling Chef Jason Peru now and canceling Chief and boycotting Chief products. Now, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Chief Products is a huge line of seasonings. They have all kinds of seasonings. And they have seasons that I don't even know. Quincy, do you use Chief Products at all?
Yeah, some of them, they're notoriously known for, sorry, not notoriously, they're most famously known for curry.
Right.
So I use
the wrong word for notorious. Yeah. But they have some spices there.
So yeah, I will use the curry. And
right.
And some of the other products, the other spices that I use to grind and make my own curry blends too.
Right. Right. So I've seen some spices there. I'm like, where people going to use this in? This is some high class, highfalutin kind of, stuff. I mean, you have injera and so on. But these spices we use in our local dishes. A lot of curries. A lot of, and I don't think they have a lot of MSG because that's a big deal for people. Mm-hmm. We get into the MSG thing later when we talk about our following brand that's in this theme. But with regards to Chief has not, as of this point in time, fired Chef Jason Peru for what he said. And I think the 5-day limit has passed, where I think everybody's just forgotten it.
Yeah, they forgot about it.
And Inshan has found something else. So I think, and maybe Quincy, you could correct me from a social media management point of view. I think Chief did the right thing. I think they were like, this is not such a big deal. Stop making it a big deal. And we have stated our policy and our position, and let's move on with life. And I don't think they would they don't think it even entered their head that they would lose sales or people would stop buying their product, because that was the call. The call was they were going to boycott buying Chief. And we have this thing in Trinidad where every 5 minutes somebody want to boycott and stop buying something, whether it's KFC, the KFC thing with the Emancipation Act a couple of years ago, which we talked about in a previous podcast. We talked about the what was the other thing they wanted to boycott? Kiss bread. They also want to call it boycott Kiss bread. Every time they raise the price, we go and boycott Kiss bread. But nothing ever happens. This is always an online outrage, social justice warrior kind of, situation. So I think the brand of Chief were well advised, and they did what they did with what they knew would give them the best out, and that's it. I think that has ended the discussion, and I think Chef Jason Peru continues will continue to say whatever he wants, whenever he wants, because he feels he has reached that level of stardom, and this will continue to happen. I think. What do you think?
Somewhere in between there. Where to start? I will say I don't think that Jason is how he is because he achieved a certain level. I don't feel as that. I think that's just his personality and probably compounded with the trend, or there is a trend in that whole kitchen scene where a chef is somewhat arrogant. You see it from the most famous one, Mr. F. Word. His name is Gordon
Ramsay.
Yeah. It's that type of personality. And a lot of times you hear people talking about chefs, like people who work with chefs in kitchens and think that they're real hard ass and they'll be harsh on you and that kind of thing. Actually, there's a slight segue. I was speaking to a chef once and he was telling me, a very big chef in Trinidad and Tobago, I rate him as one of the best. And he was saying, when you think about, from my perspective, that I run in a kitchen here, and if somebody probably a slip up by somebody on the staff could mean, because it's food that you put into your body, could mean that somebody could die. You do something and you contaminate something with shrimp, and somebody have a shrimp allergy. That's that. And at the end of the day, nobody going to say is the line chef fault, the line cook fault, or a handler, they're going to say me because my name on the ticket, so that is a kind of, and the whole scene kind of military, like, is a military type thing, yes chef kind of scene. So you find that type of personality might be, something that's common among chefs. You get that. So I don't really feel it's because the social media stardom making Jason do this. And I just saying, I don't know. I mean, he's somebody I've talked to, I don't want to be with him personally. I do support some of the things that he's doing, say, including this one. This issue here, I think the outrage is really from not so much the statement, but the context. It's not dissimilar from going by your partner who's a Muslim and ask him if you have any pork in the fridge, So that in itself mightn't be a disrespectful thing. I might be saying it in jest, but it's all according to how the person receives it, right? So you could decide that this is an offensive thing, or you could be like, whatever thing. But I think people, I'm not familiar with the influencer that posted the video. So I only saw like people talking about it, and enough to know that to get a good idea of what went on. So I don't know what the temperature of his following is, if he is like people following him because he might go to halal spots only, so people following him for that, or he might point out where you could eat as a Muslim, that kind of thing. If that's the context of his content, then it would be a kind of bad place to go and talk about pork. Simple as that. So people could probably be offended by that. Is it enough to say, cancel? I personally don't support cancel culture on the whole. There are places that I don't support, but it's not because everybody lining up to not support it. It's just they don't serve my needs. So I don't do
exactly.
it. Exactly. And with regards to the whole scene with brand ambassadorship and chief, I think it's kind of weird in that when you select a brand ambassador, and I think sometimes you're talking about the difference between a brand ambassador and a brand engaging an influencer to, align the brand to them, to their content. A brand ambassador relationship, as I was describing, is a much more intimate one because it is an extension of your brand. There's an avenue that you're using to communicate certain things that's supposed to be aligned to your brand values and that sort of thing, and your brand attributes and all this. So it's a weird statement to say, we separate ourselves from what what Chef Jason will say and put out there, but we support Chef Jason. It kind of odd in a sense. Should they say down with Chef Jason? I don't know. That's a call for them to make. I just think it's a risky one to
But I don't think they said it. Let me see if I find what they said, because we don't want to misrepresent them. I mean, what I remember them saying is that basically this is his opinion, and this is not our opinion.
Exactly.
It doesn't reflect
how we feel.
How we feel. This is not our official position. But Inshan's position is the owners of Chief Brand Products are also Muslim. And all right. So what they said was, our attention has been drawn to a matter which has arisen as a result of some recent posts on social media concerning Chef Jason. We wish to advise that the opinions expressed by Chef are his own beliefs and expressions, and that we do not adopt nor associate ourselves with such opinions and expressions. And that's fine. That's perfect. You establish this is who he is, right? This does not align with us. But I think what people were hoping was, in light of the fact that it, blah blah blah, we get rid of it or whatever, they just kind of shut down the whole conversation and said, remain committed to our customers and grateful for the continued patronage. So we're not engaging in this Chef Jason thing at all. Mm-hmm. We're not engaging in that at all. We're pulling you back into buying the product, right? Our products are strong. You like our products. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on you making the best meal possible with our spices or whatever. And it's a weak position. It's not a position that you should really end on, but it's the best way a brand could do it within the light of what's going on. And then they just left it like that. They just left it like that. They didn't engage after that. They didn't comment on it. I don't even know if it ended up in the news, if this ended up in the news at all. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that, and I didn't see any follow-up from International about, going and parading in front of Chief and stopping the trucks from delivering. I ain't no madness like that. Which meant that they were very right to know that this would eventually blow over. And this is what I advise brands all the time. That unless you choke fire, it's going to continue to burn. You have to let the oxygen burn out and let the thing burn out, and then eventually, there's some things that you could never let burn out. I mean, as a brand, Amber Heard is dead, right? So there's a difference. I mean, Amber Heard could say what she wants now, but that's as a brand, there's no coming back from that. You following? But Chief could come back from this, and they know that. It's not like the whole of Trinidad going and stop buying Chief tomorrow. It won't happen.
I'll say this. I think they could come back from it. I think so, right? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. But I think it's 50-50. I think it's risky in that if you have a huge following of Muslim customers, Muslim clientele, and they depend on you for certain things, then if they are offended, I think it needs attention. I don't think it's as easy as blowing over simply because you're talking about something that's a little bit more emotional rather than rational. You're talking about religion, people religion. Yeah. And so, for example, I know people, Muslim friends of mine that rely on Chief to use things like Essence, right? Because Essence has a percentage of alcohol in it, and the Chief brand version does not, Yeah. So, and I imagine without much hard data, I imagine that a huge support for those types of products will come from people of Muslim faith, Islamic faith. If these people are affected, then I think it needs attention, one way or the other. So I will either not say anything to further trigger them, or say something that could address them directly. And to say, we're well distant from them statements that dude make, I think it's kind of not treating with the issue, I believe. So I might have probably rather stay silent, to be honest with you. Unless my name actually really come up hardcore, tomorrow we're going to boycott, that kind of thing. And I see a definite dip in sales or something. So I would have been, I would have done hardcore Mad Men-esque, what's his name from Mad Men, Don Draper. So you get Chef Jason on the fucking phone right now and get him to apologize. Get him to apologize right now and make a statement. I don't care how he does it or what he does. I don't care what he says. Just make sure he says sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And say, I apologize for what I said. Even if it's a tweet, even if it's an Instagram story, something that somebody could screenshot and come back to me and say, hey, you do it. No problem. Brand will say nothing. Brand will say nothing. right?
But
But
you know,
I didn't see anything from him. So
yeah.
you know
what? I think this for me, this kind of, again, I rail on the fence with it, to be honest, simply because on the one hand, I don't think he necessarily meant anything.
No, I don't think so either. No,
I think it was a old talk, a fatigue, a picon, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, it had to be not just as a brand ambassador, just as a user of social media. I think you had to have some type of control with what you say, when you say it, how you say it. You know, I mean, I like to go and post and make out of time in comments. You know, I enjoy that.
But Jared knows that I have gotten in trouble on many occasions.
Oh, yes.
When I was at the agency for making out of time in comments on Facebook.
But there's a line that they don't cross, you know, the type of line that they don't cross for it to be funny rather than offensive.
I scroll into his page. And I mean, he doesn't have anything from after he did what he did on his Facebook page. Now, Facebook is not where the action is happening. It's happening on TikTok. I'm not going to go into TikTok just to go and see this. But what happened was he posted something an hour ago about baked eggs. Really nice. I mean, he does some nice stuff. No, hands down, Chef Jason Peru is talented, and he has talent, and he knows what he's doing, right?
Definitely.
But one of the comments was, and you have to click all comments to see. Darren Coates says, no pork. And Jason Peru responds, which is probably an autoresponder. Your recipes are available in my new cookbook called The Sabbath Abide. And then people telling him, Darren, stop, yes, pork. He go delete you and block you. Stop, you know. So his people are defending him. So he has his people who are kind of, you know, has his back, which is an interesting, you know, kind of dynamic that your own following is not going to abandon you and say, nah, you went and think Muslims, nah, no, I like your food. I want to learn more about how to cook this. I see him cooking a whole pig the other day. I want to try that, you know, blah, blah, blah. I think he also knows his audience to the point where he might. Now, mind you, this is in relation to food. He has gone on pages and said some racial things that I have seen on his personal profile, and he's been called out for it, and that's why this thing has happened, because he does have a history of out-of-timing stuff.
I was going to say that you must consider that there is build up to this point. It's not like a one-time thing now. Yeah.
So, I mean, Chief, if I were Chief, I'd say, listen, this is strike one. And let's see what happens next. You know, if you continue to do
that is fair. That is fair.
Yeah, you know, and that's the other thing that Don Draper would be like, you know, listen, this is the first time you've done this for our brand, within our brand. Don't do it again. Now, optometrists today just didn't even bother. Optometrists today say, and I don't understand why, because I don't see how they aligned anyway. I don't know what the situation there is, because is it that you have, I don't know. I don't want to say what your clientele is or whatever, and they're being affected by you having Jason's Peru shill your product. But they were like, nah, we fired him one time. I'm like, all right. I don't see why, you know, I'm not too sure what the strategy is here, but it's interesting because, you know, they were the other brand that he works with that have said that they don't want to work with him again because of his comments. Probably not this one, but, you know, others as well.
Well, I'll say optometrist today doesn't have the type of history with Jason that Chief has. Jason has been rocking with Chief for quite some time. I mean, way back when we did some content with him for B-Mobile, Chief, he was already, you know, in cahoots with Chief. So I would go as far as to say they understand the Chef Jason brand a little more, and probably already worked out who the followers are, you know, who his audience is, and they're probably pretty much comfortable with having that audience. The same people that you're saying would have his back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that might just be a different strategy from optometrists today who might recruit them for a different reason. Because, I mean, there are reasons that I wouldn't get into that Jason is a good fit or was a good fit for them, for Chief, that is. Those reasons may not apply to optometrists today. So it might be easier for them to say, you know what, let me call this George here because, I mean, they sat with him long enough to pass through a couple of scenes. Maybe this was their strike three.
Yeah. Could be.
You know, that could be that.
Could be that.
Which for Chief, I mean, with the length of time that Jay involved with Chief, he'd get a strike three long time if that was the case.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just that they're comfortable with that. And, you know, optometrists today, not. I could understand. I think it have good reason for both brands to do what they did, and react the way that they did. I don't think it's surprising. I wouldn't think that Chief would drop Jason for something like this. I do feel. If it was my job, and from the outside, I think maybe a alignment now, a conversation about you know how far he really looking to go, kind of thing might need to be had. Probably. But definitely for optometrists today, that conversation might be a little more in depth and a little more crucial.
Yeah, optometrists today have a upper middle kind of clientele. And I don't think they want to be associated with that down in the, I don't want to say in the gutter situation. I think it's a level of conversation they weren't comfortable with being associated with, you know, because don't forget, I think it's optometrists today who also have Brian Lara as a, not just Brian Lara as an ambassador, he owns a line.
Yeah.
He has his own line of glasses, you know, that's a big deal. So you don't want somebody like Brian Lara say, I don't want myself being associated with this kind of behavior. So they might like, we need to keep a level. We need to keep a level on the DNA of the brand and the way the brand is positioned. We need to keep a level. But Jared, what do you think?
No, I'm just saying that you're living dangerously because you're in the public eye, and I mean, when you go out there and you make an offhanded remark, because let's face it, we are all capable of saying stupid things and doing dumb things.
Yeah.
I would know because I've been in radio, not just in advertising. I've been in radio. And let me tell you, there have been a couple of instances where I have said some things that I wish to God I could take back.
Yeah.
And the moment you realize, or someone points out to you, hey, but see, you do shit. I said, what did I do? And this is so is the case. This is what you said. And I like to think I'm intelligent enough, and I have the foresight to say, oh shit, I really do bad here, boy. So you go on the air, you make a statement, you say, look, what I said, it was clearly something that I should not have said. It was very insensitive of me to say. And for that, I am truly sorry. I will try to do better next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I don't support cancel culture, because cancel culture does not give you the opportunity to better yourself, to be forgiven and try to be better. They're like, oh, you did that like 10 years ago. I remember when Jared went and said something, let's cancel Jared. No. yeah, we're not on that.
Yeah. It wasn't like that at all. No, you take your licks. You take your metaphorical licks, and you say, all right, well, yeah, I know what I said. What I can't abide by, and what I will never abide by, is when the individual is caught making the mistake, saying the nonsense, and then you have to, and then the fella doubling down, because if you start to double down, I just don't. It damages a bit of your reputation, I think.
Yeah.
as one who's doing this. I mean, did you not? I mean, before Chief Brand, before Chief Brand Products had hired him, they should have like found out, well, what is he about? What is he like? How does he get along with people? That sort of thing, you know. No question the man is talented. No question he's quite proficient when it comes to particular recipes, and he should be encouraged to do that because as his craft.
Yeah.
But the overall persona, and this is just my personal opinion, the overall persona of him leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, I have seen people who cook, and they cook very well, and they don't behave the way this individual does.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is my problem. That is what I could not. I see that things like that, and it doesn't jive with me. But that's me.
Yeah.
There are people who look at that and say, "Hey, they like that kind of a abrasive behavior." After all, if Gordon Ramsay could do it, who the hell is Jason Peru?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's a big part of the scene because unlike many other chefs out there, I think Jason does a good job of marketing himself and presenting himself as that type of online personality, that's like upper echelon of social media chef kind of thing, and sometimes people believe that, and I wouldn't dispute it, it's just not my scene. Sometimes people believe that controversy and that sort of thing, that sort of tension is good publicity, all publicity is good publicity kind of thing. Which I think from my perspective is true to an extent, but there's a way to do it, right? There's a difference with being disruptive versus being like obnoxious or offensive. You want to be disruptive. You want to do things that different, and sometimes that different thing might tread on people's toes, but it need to like not completely crush the toe, but just mash it slightly.
Just discomfort. Just a little bit of discomfort.
Just some discomfort that you can pull away from and say, hey, that was kind of weird, boy. Rather than, hey, we need to go to the emergency room immediately.
Well, this is it. You see?
So that leads us, go on, John, go on.
So it's like you're walking a tightrope. And as Quincy alluded to, sometimes you need to be a little bit disruptive, but it's how you go about doing it. And to find creative ways in which to do so. I am all for being disruptive, as long as you don't put a couple of noses out of joint. If you mash the toe slightly according to Quincy, no problem. No problem at all.
Yeah. I think this leads us well now into what happens now when the brand itself thinks, well, I wouldn't say thinks it is bigger than other people, thinks it knows all the answers. So we talked about Chief, and we kind of segue now into Chief's competitor. We kind of have a little more experience with because we used to work on the brand, which is Maggie. Right. So just today, this morning, Jared, you're the one who noticed it. How did you find out? You tell the story. What happened?
Well, okay. I realized that I just stumbled upon it on my Facebook page that somebody had posted this image of a couple of instruments used for Indian music, and the instruments themselves, it looked as if they were filled with food or something like that. And I think the caption read "Savor the Beats" or something to that effect. And I think there were those who had a problem with it. There were those who are really into their religion and in their faith, and they said that they found it to be insulting. It was an insult to their religion and what have you. Now, I don't know the Hindu religion that well. I am familiar with certain aspects of it, yes, but not all of it. And if it is, there are those who say that, yes, they find that offensive. Who am I to argue?
Yeah.
But it was something that I noticed, and I thought, well, okay, but how is it that you could come up with? I mean, because when we were working on Maggie, when we did particular things that had any sort of dealing with Indian culture, with Indo-Caribbean culture, we would do research and we would ask people in the know, listen, is this the correct way to go about doing this? Is this right if we say this? Is it right if we put it in that, if we do it in that way? If so, let us know. So we would consult with people, people again, people who know their faith and who know the culture. And if there was a problem, we wouldn't do it. So once we came up with an idea and everybody was in sync, everybody said, well, yes, this is good. This is not a problem. We don't find this offensive. The client looks at it and says, yeah, okay, great. Let's give it a go. So somewhere along the line with this particular instance,
we talked about this in season 2 with Osman and Tracy about doing, radio jingle for Diwali.
Yeah.
And one of the comments was one of my friends had said that she did not like hearing a chutney style jingle during the week before, the weeks leading up to Diwali, because that's supposed to be bhajan time, that's supposed to be religious time or whatever. Right. I mean, it is debated whether they did have a kind of chutney sound to it, but it didn't. But the point is being made is that you don't play something ragadang chutney kind of thing during a lead up to a religious festival. You see, this is one of the things that it was never considered, but one of the things that we had a joke about, and we used to laugh about it, but now maybe we don't laugh about it so much, was that almost every greetings ad for Diwali or any sort of religious, Indian, Hindu religious festival. So Indian Arrival Day, which happened on Monday this week, and Diwali, I don't think there's anything else. Is there anything else that we use? We do things for the Hindus. Are there any? Those are the only two I know.
Apart from Indian Arrival Day, you see, but the thing about it is, Indian Arrival Day is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's overall, but yeah, it's overall.
It's not necessarily religious.
Right. Well, we get to that. But what I'm saying is, every time we had to do something for the Hindu community, we had to send it to the Dharma Mahasabha. I have to pronounce it correctly. Right. Let's not do Poe TV boy, right? Which is on YouTube. Like, poor fella. I feel sorry for him. But yeah.
I'm quite happy that happened.
We have to get Sat Maharaj himself to approve it. And I used to remember that. And I used to be like, why? Why is this? Well, rest in peace, Sat, But he used to be the gatekeeper. He used to be the one to say yes or no. Usually he would say yes. He would say yes. Whatever. But if this particular one with the drums, the tablas, with the food inside of it, if that was sent to him, he would have probably blown a gasket. As far as I know.
He'd have lost it.
But even so, when the shit hit the fan about this particular thing, was that the Hindu community themselves didn't know what this issue was, because it was called out by a pundit. A pundit had said this was being anti-religious because the tabla is actually a religious icon. And you put in food into it, you're desecrating it. And a lot of Hindus are like, you never knew that. Where you get that from?
The explanation that I got, and from some of what I know, is that the tablas is sacred, and you usually bless them and thing. And well, I don't know the correct term, but there's that. And the people that learn to play them usually are people that don't eat meat, and that sort of thing. So to put not just food in it, but food that has meat in it, was the trigger. But it seems to me, again, not knowing 100% of what the real issue is, it seems to me that the the essence of what they're trying to put forward, I think, was lost, and that it didn't make sense. That's what I feel. Yeah. That's what I feel it was. And from a creative perspective, honestly, I find is rubbish, right? I find.
Oh yeah, well, this is what I was gonna say. I think that
that's a kind of stretch, you know.
Yeah, that layout was terrible. The artwork was terrible.
Yeah,
and the agency should be ashamed to even present that to the client. And the joke is that if the idea was presented to me to do this, I would have said no.
Yeah.
And I would have got pushed back. Oh, you're being negative. It will be award winning. It'll be award winning. This is not award winning. This is crap, right? So Nestle themselves had to pull it. And they put out, they issued a statement saying that they're sorry and they apologize and whatever. And the call again was to be going and boycott Maggie products. But again, so if you boycott Chief and Maggie at the same time, as I said, what do you want to season with? And somebody said, Turban. And I go, all right, okay. I can't say nothing bad about Turban. Turban is a nice little niche brand. Okay, cool. But the thing is that I would love to know. I would have loved to know the thought process for that Maggie. And usually they are on spotter. Yeah, we know how these things go.
They probably send 50 layouts back and forth and this and that. I mean, to be real honest with you, like coming down to the latter part of my agency life, my full-on agency life, greeting ads the things that I hated to do. One of the things I hated to do most, because
we all hated it.
Yeah, they're disingenuous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like we know as a cash grab kind of thing for the agency. You get to play some media, an extra piece of media.
Yeah. You're giving the media blind. That's essentially what it is.
And as well, on the client side is low-hanging fruit, and there's an opportunity to jump in and talk to your demographic or to the demographic that might fall within your clients and people who follow the faith or people who affected by the holiday or whatever, the special dates as they call them. I think, by now we could be doing something much more meaningful that could still allow you to place an ad, but the essence of it, I think we could do a little more than the management and staff of blah, 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 wishes to greet the people. Do something, do something else. It could. I think
always wonder.
It could.
I always wonder. I lived abroad for a little bit, and I know they do have ads for holidays and bank holidays. I'm not too sure what goes on in the States. But not like us. Not like us. I don't think we have an ad for every occasion.
It's like we're under some sort of moral obligation. It's like we're under some sort of moral obligation to come up with, we have to do something, because if we don't do it, it's going to make us look bad. How would it look if we didn't do it in the first place?
So come back to Chief. we just had this celebration with dinner arrival day. Chief's and dinner arrival day ad is terribly produced, but it's safe. It's the spices in our bowl next to the tablas, in the corner, real small, and a kind of drawing of the ship that the Indians arrive in. And it's very safe, but again, it's not very creative. It's not very, impactful. It's just like, we had to do something for Indian arrival day, so let's just do it. And that's where we reached. And as Jason Ducran, a friend of ours, had said from way before one of our earlier shows, he said a greetings ad is low-hanging fruit for any company. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's bandwagonism on the agency level. You have to jump on this bandwagon and say something. We have to say, personally, my business redesigns, I was doing it, and I thought, you know what? First of all, I feel pressure to do this. Like I have to do it. And second of all, that pressure is making me think that I'm not going to do something very creative. And I would prefer not to do it. And I don't think I really need to do it. Unless the idea came to my head that, this might be a great thing to say for this period, I would do something. Like International Women's Day, I found this really cool image this neon image of the strong woman, Rosie the Riveter. I thought, wow, that image looks really cool. I can make something really cool out of this. And I said, this is perfect for doing it for International Women's Day. And it looked real cool. But I'm not going to force the issue. Like in their arrival, they are like, well, everybody going to do the ship. They're going to do a map. They're going to put pin in the map to show where they come from. There's not really much more you can do,
Yeah.
You have to be very hard pressed to come with something, which again, the agency was like, well, we have tabla, we have food, like putting food in the tabla like it's a bowl. No, bitch, that's that made me thinking out of the box, but that's not going to work. That is going to offend somebody, and which it did,
we cannot see it all, you know what I mean? And I think because a lot of what you're describing there is the agency experience where Duali coming up, what you're doing for the past 20 years, we cannot see it all. How else you going to talk about the celebration of light and darkness without with all the constructs I had to follow, to not offend and all this. Eid, the same thing. I see that moon and star used in a million different ways.
Because in Eid, you're not allowed to use because of Islam. Islam bans iconography.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't. So like where Christianity, you could show Jesus ascending into heaven or whatever for Easter. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. You can't show Muhammad, blessed be his name. You can't show any of those things. So the minute you try to do something like that, it doesn't. Somebody, I'm sorry, I don't want to tell that story about. It's wrong to say that, but I always used to joke about, you're gonna end up in a problem. It's gonna end up in a problem, which is again, we don't want Mr. International saying, I'm gonna sue Ian and Jared for his radio show. That's not that we do not want you. Please do not sue us. Please do not. Which please actually, as an aside, I just read a couple of days ago that the guy, I don't know where I read it from. Maybe it's you, Jared, where the guy who won the Guinness World Book of Records for suing people, 250 cases in a year. He won the Guinness World Book of Records for the most people sued, right? Mm-hmm. He said thank you, and he sued the Guinness World Book of Records. So I don't want Mr. Israel, Inshan to sue us. Please don't sue us. Please, I don't have money. I don't have any money. None. Yeah, this show is run on spit and glue.
Pretty much, yes.
Right. So I mean, coming back to Maggie and the trying to be creative. And that was not just a still ad. That was an animated ad. They kind of animated it with kind of things, So obviously the agency has resources to do something creative, Mm-hmm. But the trouble with Maggie has always been that the agency always wants to make food like represent something else. So you'll have like season making a tree or something, that kind of thing is always, let's do this so it'll be award winning. All right, okay. Yeah. But anyway, so we will continue to see these really terrible. I'm pretty sure coming out Diwali is on the next one. There's one, we have Independence Day coming up. And we talked about the terrible Independence Day and Republic Day ads we've seen. I have some of them on my profile. The most famous one is the Republic Bank one with the blue Scarlet Ibis made out of blue Hyundai cars. I'm like, dude, the way you see Scarlet Ibis in reality, that ad even makes it more insulting to the Scarlet Ibis. This beautiful bird with this color that cannot be reproduced. You cannot reproduce this color. This color can only exist in your eyeball, in your brain. You go in and you put this thing in blue and you put people with them made out of cars or whatever it is. I'm like, no, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this. Please don't do these things. But again, I mean, Independence Day and Republic Day is a lot harder to anger people, you know, because Chinese lackadaisical, you know, they will be like, yeah, all right, so maybe they show a picture of Rowley made up to look like, you know, I don't know.
A Scarlet Tigress.
Oh God! You know, you know, maybe somebody does a video showing Eric Williams morphing, you know, like Michael Jackson's, you know, morphing into Rowley, you know, the proud progression.
Annie, are you okay?
The proud progression of our prime ministers. It's like, yeah, but your hard bars, no Pandey. Where's Pandey? Where's Kamla? Where are these people? Yeah. Where are these people, agency? Where are these people?
Oh my God. That would be that's a literal comedy errors right there. Jeez.
Yeah, that would come down that would either come from the client. We want to show, you know, the progression of our prime ministers. Can you morph them one into the other?
Can you morph them into
so we can morph it into Baliser Pandey. Absolutely not. Please remove Pandey and A.N.R. Robinson and Kamala Prasad.
Oh God.
No, you gotta keep Patrick. Patrick is the father of the nation. Remember he said he was anyway, let's not get political.
My dear friend. Yes, let's not get political.
All right, guys, this has been great. We started a little late today, but thanks, Quincy, for jumping on. Really appreciate it. You know,
yeah, man.
Always
a pleasure to be here, man.
Hope you had fun with this one.
Yeah, man.
I want you to quickly tell them the story. In the group chat, you told me the story about the plane. We didn't want to be political, but I wanted you to tell that story because I thought that story is hilarious.
Yeah, that's the national airline. We it was kind of hilarious when you think about it. So we were that was our client at a point in time, and we got a brand style guide from the company, you know, that a foreign agency did, by the way. Mm-hmm. And there were a whole set of different images, approved images, among other things, but approved images that we were able to use to create communication. Mm-hmm. So we had one of the projects was to design the plane tails, right? And we came up with a couple categories. Well, flora and fauna was one, culture was one, this, that, the other things. And we use images from the approved book of images. Mm-hmm. So one of them in particular had it was described as a Caribbean heliconia. It's the Baliser, right? But we thought it just looked like, you know, it resembled the Baliser. The image that was there, it resembled the Baliser, but it wasn't looking like the Baliser, you know? It wasn't looking like a PNM Baliser per se.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we used it with a number of other flowers and some bushes and that kind of thing and created this real nice plain tail, you know? That was one of the nicer looking ones, actually. So we had this fleet of plain tails, went to the client, approved, went to production, going on the plane and thing. And then in the press launch, one of the past prime ministers made a comment. I believe it was jokingly. Well, I wasn't there, so I just heard this secondhand. And say, hey, that one is a PNM plane now. Kiki. You know, a kiki, you know, we laugh. But then eventually it was like, you know, the client was embarrassed and that caused a big scene, you know, which ultimately led to us not having the account again.
Wow.
And yeah, I was like, well, what? But this, it was not a PNM plane. Like, that's the fact. The fact that it was not a PNM plane was clear. It wasn't like even the things around the Baliser or anything like that. The Baliser actually could have come out and it would have been no different. But you know, these things is being limited to a certain group of images and they can't work outside it, you had to use as much as you could get, because usually you don't have enough images for every single idea that they'll come up with. So to populate it, I think that was stuck in there, you know, and the artists do a good job of making what we had work. So my position was, well, everything was approved, but it was pre-approved by virtue of it being in this style guide. You know, if it would have been a problem anywhere along the line, because essentially what that would mean is if you had used that particular image on, let me say, a sign to go to the VIP lounge or something, you know, then that might be, you know, that P&M lounge.
Yeah.
So
The symbology is way too strong, because the political party in question's branding is so strong and so known in the culture. It's part of the culture that well, the Prime Minister made the comment at the time he used to be opposition, but the other political party. I mean, he was making a joke, yes, but obviously he was doing it for political currency, you know.
Of course. Yeah.
And he not stupid. He saw it immediately because it's a strong branding. But again, nobody would think about that when you're trying to get this thing done and you're trying to do it, and you know, you're not really thinking about that. You know, that filter doesn't apply. The political filter is not involved in the marketing filter.
Correct.
You follow what I'm saying?
Correct,
so it's always a danger when you work for a government client, because essentially the airline is a government airline. When you work for a government client, you worry about these things. And we always used to get briefs for the tourism client not to do this and not to do that and not to do this, because you know, you don't want to anger the minister or the line minister at the time. Israel, yes, minister, yes, prime minister, kind of foibles. But as a whole, that's not important. Right?
Yeah. You know, the scary thing about it is, like, when that whole thing took off, pun intended. I was like oblivious to it right up until somebody said it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, for real. And this is because, like, the image, I wish I could have get the image to show you. Like, the image don't scream Baliser or P&M, or it was like a significant part of it.
It's very subtle.
So you had to kind of go into it and pull it out, extract it, and make that statement, and then, you know, cannot unsee, right? But and the scary thing is, like, it could be for anything. It could be for anything. And plenty times, like I say, you're working for like a government client or something, and you could do something and use a color, and that could cause a scene.
Yeah.
You know, easy like that.
Yeah, well, we talked about that already. We talked about that where color, one brand has used the other brand's color, and it has just been like, why? But it's totally benign, or it's in relation to something else. So like Christmas is usually red Santa. You know, you're gonna put a green Santa. You know, but that's your brand wants it green. Okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is the problem. You know, when it comes to branding and it comes to owning elements like the Baliser, for example, or the Helicon or whatever it is, it like I said, he did it for spite. He did it for spite. You know, that's essentially, you know, he knew what he was doing. He wasn't stupid, you know. Anyway.
The licks is the agency does get Alex.
Oh yeah, well they're always at the end of the, you know, they always say that the licks is passed down to the end. The last child in the family is getting worse licks. Sorry, John. I know you don't like that.
I know.
That's the old saying. That's not the Karen saying. All right, guys. We shall end on that. But what shall we define before we go? We have to make a definition.
I tell you what, it's not what we will define. It's who we will define.
Who will we define?
Amber Heard.
That's a shitty definition.
Who is ever well? Yeah, but I think you just defined it. But that's not important right now.
That's not important right now. All right, that's it. We're done. Turn it off. It's done. Stick a fork in it. It's done. It's done. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great week. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you all later.
Late.
See you later.